Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of my 2021 NFL Mock Draft Series. And it's been a while. It's been about 2 months since the last one, and a lot has changed since then. I mean, we have a new team picking first overall because the Jets decided to win some games at the end of the season. The Falcons have jumped into the top 5. I mean, there's a lot to go over. A lot has changed. My opinions on a lot of these prospects have changed. Overall, I still like who I like and dislike who I dislike for the most part. And I'm starting to get a good feel about, come March, April-ish, once I have my big board finalized, who's going to be where and what range they'll be in. Like I said, my opinions on these guys are constantly changing. So if there's a little bit of inconsistencies with the past videos, please understand it's draft season. Opinions are constantly changing because new info comes out, and a lot of people find things that they didn't see before. And some players catch steam that didn't have steam at all throughout the entire season. And basically that's that. Before we get started with this video, I just wanted to say this video is brought to you by Prize Picks, the simplest form of fantasy sports betting right now. You pick 2 to 5 players and can win up to 10 times on any entry. It allows multi-sports, so you can do Mahomes over on fantasy points and an under on LeBron James. If you sign up using the code ALLSPORTS, you'll receive an instant deposit match of up to $100. Check it out on the App Store or web browser. Prize Picks. Use code ALLSPORTS for up to $100 deposit match. So, let's get started with the first overall pick in the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are now picking first as compared to last time. And the pick's easy. Put it in chalk, put it in cement, honestly. Trevor Lawrence, about as good of a quarterback prospect as a team could ask for. I'm not going to dive any deeper into that. He's so damn good, and that's all I need to say. New York Jets at number 2. So this is one of the main things that I've changed my mind on over the past few months, and that is that Justin Fields is no longer my quarterback 2. My QB2 is Zach Wilson now, and that's going to be the pick for the New York Jets because I think his scheme fit with what the Jets are going to be running now on offense is so perfect. They're going to be using that Kyle Shanahan LaFleur scheme with Mike LaFleur coming over from San Francisco, brother of Matt LaFleur, and I mean, they're going to need to add some playmakers for Zach Wilson, but I still think they can perform this scheme very well. And if they put Zach Wilson in there, I mean, they're going to run that scheme to as good as you could imagine if he develops right. And what I like so much about Zach Wilson is his pocket ability is so excellent, and he can extend plays with ease. And my God, his off-platform ability, his arm angle talent is unbelievable. And one thing that I think differentiates him from Justin Fields a lot is his processor. It's so much better than Justin Fields, and I value that a lot in a quarterback. And Zach Wilson's just better in that regard. And I really love Zach Wilson a lot. I think he's a perfect fit for what the Jets are going to need in that scheme at quarterback. That's not to say Justin Fields can't run this offense. He definitely could, but I think Zach Wilson is the better talent. He's a top 5 player in this class. Moving on to the Miami Dolphins, who should be a team that's looking to trade down here, but they're not in this mock situation. But what I'm looking at for the Miami Dolphins here is offensive line, because I think investing in the trenches is so valuable. And with a talent like Penei Sewell on the board, I think he's too good to pass on. You do think about Jamar Chase here. You definitely do. But I think trying to get Tua to succeed is you got to protect the man. And also the fact that Robert Hunt, I don't view him as a tackle. I know he was all right last year at right tackle, but I think he's best as a guard. That's what I projected him as pre-draft last year. And Penei Sewell is a tackle. I mean, you could play Sewell at guard, and you're going to get a Pro Bowl guard, but he's best at tackle, and that's going to be the pick here. I think putting him at either left or right tackle, whether you want him protecting Tua's blind side or not, it's too good. It's too good. Penei Sewell is my number 2 player in this class when it's all said and done, most likely. And yeah, I mean, Miami, just beef up your offensive line. It's going to help Tua succeed if he's going to. Onto the Atlanta Falcons. I love this fit so much. it's going to be Justin Fields to the Falcons. And I'm seeing a lot of pushback lately on the idea of Atlanta taking a quarterback. And I find that very interesting because with Arthur Smith coming over from Tennessee, I just don't see Atlanta picking top 5 anytime soon after this draft, because I think your roster is talented enough to keep you out of the top 5. And I don't think there's going to be a quarterback prospect as good as Justin Fields, probably as high as they would pick with Arthur Smith as head coach, because Arthur Smith was my second favorite head coaching candidate behind Brian Daboll this past year, this past hiring cycle. And Justin Fields is a perfect fit for what Arthur Smith likes to have in his quarterback for this scheme. I mean, Justin Fields is such a great vertical passer. He would be awesome in this play action heavy scheme. It'd be fun. And they have the perfect situation for him. Like I said when I was talking about Zach Wilson, the main reason why I'm kind of souring on Justin Fields, I'm not souring on him, I still really like him, is his processor isn't that good. I mean, he kind of falls into that trap with Ohio State QBs where they are so first read oriented. They stare them down like hell. And he does the same thing, and he needs to be able to progress better throughout his progressions. And sitting behind a Matt Ryan for a year, I don't know, a couple games, I don't know what it would be for the, the succession plan, but getting that would be so valuable to him. He's from the Atlanta area. He's going to be an awesome fit in this scheme. Use the valuable picks you have at your disposal to take valuable positions. That's my opinion on that. And I mean, if they weren't to go Justin Fields here, they would have to go defense, and I don't see a defensive player that I like this high. So there's that. Cincinnati Bengals at number 5, and my thing is this: I don't see an offensive lineman I'm comfortable taking at 5th overall. I like Rashawn Slater, but not at 5. He's more of like a 10 range. So trading down here would make sense for them, but I think reuniting Joe Burrow with his college teammate and Jamar Chase would be excellent. And Jamar Chase is an unreal talent. And I think if you want this Bengals offense to be absolute dynamite with Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd, and Joe Mixon, oh my God, that would just be utterly unfair. And there's good tackle depth in this class. You can get a quality starting offensive lineman at pick 37 in the second round, or you can just trade back up into the first and take a tackle there. I think that'd be great for the Bengals to do this to help their quarterback in the long run. Philadelphia Eagles, I'm throwing this out there. I know I'm probably going to get hate for this pick, but I'm going to do it anyways. So Nick Sirianni's coming over from that Colts Frank Reich offense, and something they love to do a lot is 2 tight end packages. And there's a guy on the board who could fulfill 2 very big roles in kind of the Philly Colts offense type deal. And that's Kyle Pitts. And be that Alshon Jeffrey replacement and the Zach Ertz replacement in one pick. He could. He's that good. He might be a top 3 player on my final big board, but I love Kyle Pitts a whole lot. And I'm just doing this pick to put it out there into the world, and I think it'd be a load of fun. And now this pick might be quarterback on the day of the draft because it's sounding like Carson Wentz going to get traded. Detroit Lions, you just traded Matt Stafford, and I believe you did that trade because you actually like Jared Goff in some capacity. And I think putting Trey Lance in this situation where this roster is absolute garbage, I mean, the defense is horrible, and the offense, I mean, you have a decent offensive line and Hawkinson and Swift, but you are just setting up Trey Lance to fail. And you turned down Carolina's offer of 8th overall and Teddy Bridgewater for 2 late firsts and a terrible contract in Jared Goff. I mean, you did that. And so I honestly believe that they like Jared Goff to some ability. And I don't believe putting Trey Lance on this team is going to be good for him. So giving them a replacement at wide receiver, because Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones are definitely out the door. So I'm going to give them my receiver 2 as of right now, which is Jalen Waddle. I mean, this dude is electric. He takes the top off the defense every single time he's on the field. I love Jalen Waddle a whole lot. And it's just personal preference between him and Devonta Smith. If you have one over the other, if you have one of them over Jamar Chase, however you shuffle these top three, I get it. I totally get it. It's just a matter of personal preference for everyone when it comes to this top three group of receivers. So I just have Jalen Waddle at number 2. Carolina Panthers at number 8. This is going to kind of be a what I think they're going to do pick, because they seem very determined to get a quarterback in this offseason. Like, they do not seem happy with Teddy Bridgewater, and I truly believe that. I mean, they offered 8th overall for Matt Stafford, which I don't understand because he's early 30s, and they should be looking for someone like Deshaun Watson who's younger, or trading up for a quarterback here. And I think Carolina is definitely one of the Deshaun Watson landing spots, one of the more aggressive teams I think could do it, especially hiring someone from the Seattle front office, which is such an aggressive front office. So even though I don't love Trey Lance's fit for the Carolina Panthers, I think they're going to do it, so I'm going to give him to him. That explains himself. He could sit behind Teddy for a year because you need Trey Lance to sit. He's a very raw prospect, and I have disagreements with some people about him. I know Kurt has him as QB2. I don't agree with that, but he has some things to work on, but he's got a lot of raw talent to work with, and putting him behind someone like Teddy Bridgewater while Joe Brady is still there is definitely valuable to take advantage of. Denver Broncos, I'm going to give them a corner. They just released A.J. Bouye, and Patrick Surtain is a perfect scheme fit for Vic Fangio. I mean, he's just a natural zone corner. I love this fit immensely. So I'm just going to do it. No question. I'm just going to do it. Dallas Cowboys. Now, there's a guy here that I really like, and I think he's more valuable than the other guy that someone else is probably looking at. And Dallas got exposed this year for their lack of offensive line depth, and we don't really know what's going to happen with that group because, you know, Tyron Smith's getting old. He's got a lot of injuries, and you know, I think a guy like Rashawn Slater, who can play across the entire line, is going to be so huge for them, especially if they're trying to convince Dak to stay around. And I ultimately think Dak will be here next year, whether they tag him or not. But Rashawn Slater is the more valuable selection, in my opinion, here, and it's the smarter decision, if you ask me. New York Giants. Look, you could go Micah Parsons here, and I'd really like it. You could also go an edge player, but the value of Devonta Smith at 11th overall, where you can finally get Daniel Jones, a true #1 receiver, I'm definitely taking advantage of that. And Devonta Smith explains himself, Heisman winner. He doesn't win it if Jalen Waddle isn't injured, but he's still a freak of nature. And I mean, you want to prove Daniel Jones is your guy, well, giving him Devonta Smith surely helps in that regard. So, Dave Gettleman, if you want Daniel Jones to prove you right, give him weapons to succeed. San Francisco 49ers, they need corner really bad. If Rashawn Slater was here, I'd very heavily consider it, but Caleb Farley's here. I'm going to give him Caleb Farley. Yeah, I don't really need to break that one down. Richard Sherman's already accepted the fact that he won't be on this team, and the rest of their secondary are free agents. Placing that position group is going to be vital for this team's success next year. So Caleb Farley, all the sense in the world. LA Chargers, you need to protect your franchise stud quarterback in Justin Herbert, and my favorite offensive lineman on the board is available, which is Christian Darrisaw. And he's going to be an absolute mauler on the offensive line. And I think your defense is going to be good with Brandon Staley. So let's protect Herbert, because that was a big problem for you guys last year. So, you know, help him out. On to the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm looking at edge or defensive line here, because that was a pathetic group last year, because without Danielle Hunter or Michael Pierce, they had nothing up front. They just had nothing. So I'm looking at guys like Kwity Paye, Greg Rousseau, or Christian Barmore for them. And honestly, I'm warming up to Greg Rousseau a little bit more as of late, and I love him for Minnesota. I think Mike Zimmer could really turn him into something special. So you know what? I'm going to give him to him. I think I've done that pick before, but I'm just going to do it again. Kwity Paye. The team I'm thinking will take Kwity Paye later in this mock. If you want to swap these picks, you can. If you want to, if you have a preference. But let's move on to the New England Patriots. And Micah Parsons is still available, and my God, he is a natural fit for Bill Belichick's defense. I mean, him as a blitzer is going to be fantastic the minute he steps into the NFL, and Bill Belichick is going to have a hell of a time scheming him up. And I mean, if you're a linebacker and you get drafted to the Patriots, you're basically getting set up to succeed because he knows what to do with you every single time. And Micah Parsons in that defense will be awesome. It'd just be so awesome. And he's kind of falling down boards, I guess, a little bit as of late because of some off-field issues. I honestly don't think that will hurt his stock as much as some people are saying it's going to. I think he'll probably end up in the teens, but I don't think he'll fall that far down the first round. Arizona Cardinals. See, unique corner, and J.C. Horn is available. I don't love J.C. Horn in the middle of the first. I think he's more of like a later first round pick. There is an edge player on the board that I love him, and he can run that 3-4 outside backer and give you an element of power, and that's Joseph Osai. He's making a strong case for my favorite edge player in this class, and I gave them this pick in my last mock, I believe, and I'm going to stick by it. I love Joseph Osai. Hassan Reddick, if you want to pay him for that 1 year, you can do that after finally playing him at the edge when he should have been doing that the entire time. But getting a guy in there also as a long-term replacement to Chandler Jones is super valuable. So doing this works even if you re-sign Hassan. Las Vegas Raiders. Look, I see a lot of people giving them Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and that's fine. Like, I get it. They need linebacker, but they also have Corey Littleton there, who already fills the role that JOK would play best in. And I don't know. I just don't like him with that group of backers. And Kwiatkowski was pretty good for them last year. So I'm not going to go linebacker, even though I love JOK. They need help on the edge. I've kind of said before how I think Max Crosby is a bit overrated, and Cleveland Ferrell has not lived up to 4th overall at all. And I mean, none of Mike Mayock's first round picks really have at all because he's overdrafted basically all of them. And Kwity Paye is available, and that's who I'm going to take. If Greg Rousseau was here and Kwity Paye went to the Vikings at 14, just flip him. I could see either or happening. Moving on to Miami. This is where Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is going to go. He is the perfect will linebacker for Brian Flores' defense, and I just love the fit. I do. And JOK, perfect fit for Miami. I mean, he can fit in a lot of schemes. I mean, he's the prototypical modern-day linebacker who's a freak athlete, who's speedy sideline to sideline ability, can cover. He can basically play safety if you want him to. And yeah, I mean, I love it. I love it. Washington football team. Look, so I'm looking at like Rashad Bateman. JOK would have been a guy I was looking at. Cosme, Tevin Jenkins, those guys. Those are the guys I'm kind of looking at for them. But here's the thing. After Stafford got traded, I think Washington's options at quarterback are very thin. They're not going to be able to get Carson Wentz, and I wouldn't even want them to get Carson Wentz at all. You know, maybe Derek Carr. I don't think Derek Carr will be available, though. But Washington, you cannot afford to have this revolving door of quarterbacks for another year. You had Alex Smith, Kyle Allen, and Taylor Heineke going through a rotation last year, and you can't afford to do that because your offense suffered because of it. There's a guy at quarterback in this class that I think could be a day one starter right out the gate that isn't worth a top 10 pick. That's going to be Mac Jones. And Mac Jones, his ceiling might be, not that high. It's not. He's not that athletically gifted to be able to be a top 5 quarterback. But he does so many things mentally so well. And I mean, his processor is fantastic. And I think that's just so valuable to Washington at this point. His accuracy is great. His pocket presence is excellent. And he does all these little things that I really like. And I think him as a leader, being so respected from that Bama program, I think Rivera is going to really like that. And they're trying to give that culture an identity in Washington for so many years that they didn't really have one. It was just kind of a mess there. Now they're really trying to establish something there, and they have. Getting a guy like Mac Jones in there, I really like that. Even though I don't think he's worth 19, I think he's going to go in this range. I think a team like New England's going to love him. Just Micah Parsons just happened to be there, so I picked him there. But if Mac Jones was there at 15, I probably would have done that because I think New England's going to love him too. Washington, get stability at the quarterback spot because that's what you need right now. On to the Bears, and I would have had the same opinion with the Bears, with Mac Jones, if he was available. But he is not. And my favorite player on the board is Rashad Bateman, and I don't think Allen Robinson's going to be on this team next year. And Rashad Bateman is a great all-around wide receiver, and he just fulfilled that Allen Robinson role to a T. So I'm going to pick him. Simple as that. Tevin Jenkins is the guy I was thinking about for them, but nah. Rashad Bateman is my favorite player available, so I'm going to give him to him. Indianapolis Colts, you need help at quarterback and offensive tackle because both of your starters have retired in Phillip Rivers and Anthony Costanzo, which is super unfortunate for you guys. I'm so sorry. So, Cosme, Jenkins, those are guys I'm kind of looking at because there's no quarterbacks I like here. I'm not a Kyle Trask believer. Tevin Jenkins has been a fast riser as of late, but I haven't really gone into him. I have watched Cosme. I do like Cosme, so I'll give him Cosme. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans. You need help similarly to the Minnesota Vikings on that front. You got no production from your defensive line or your edges last year. It was pathetic. And let's see who's available. Jalen Phillips is available. I would like Jalen Phillips for them. I think he could play stand-up 3-4 outside linebacker. Same with Azeez Ojulari. Defensive line. Barmore would be good for you guys. He would. See, from a pure tape perspective, Jalen Phillips is probably my favorite player in this class based on this year alone. There are some things you have to take into consideration with him. I think this class is deep enough at defensive line where you can afford to pass on them right here because there's a lot of good options on day 2 for defensive line. And I'm going to take Jalen Phillips here to the Titans. And let's just move on to the New York Jets. You need someone at right tackle, and I think a natural player that could be at right tackle for them is Tevin Jenkins, who's been quickly rising, and he's a perfect scheme fit for the LaFleur offense that they're going to be running. So, yeah, let's just make that happen. I mean, protect Zach Wilson at all costs, and Mekhi Becton and Tevin Jenkins, that is a freakish tackle duo. That is a freakish tackle duo. Moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they need help on the offensive line, and I feel kind of bad taking another offensive lineman so close to others, but this tackle class is great, and there's a guy on the board who could fulfill a lot of things for them. And Jalen Mayfield, you know, the Steelers are going to be losing Alejandro Villanueva probably, and it sounded like Pouncey's going to retire. And Jalen Mayfield has guard tackle flexibility, so if you want to start him at guard, move him out to tackle, you could do whatever. But I think he would be good for the Steelers at this spot. So I'm going to do that. And I know they haven't taken a tackle in the first round in a long time, but it might be time to finally do that. Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm looking at an offensive line similar to the Jets because I think protecting your quarterback is so valuable in today's game. I mean, it always is. But you just saw the Bucs absolutely demolish the Chiefs because they won in the trenches on both sides. And Tom Brady had all day and Patrick Mahomes had no time of day. And I think if you want Trevor Lawrence to keep developing and being a great prospect like he should be, giving him an offensive lineman. My favorite one available is Elijah Vera-Tucker, and I think he can play tackle. I like him at guard more, but if you want to start him out at tackle, you could definitely do that. So I'm going to give him to him. And yeah, I like the pick for Jacksonville. I mean, he's the best lineman available, in my opinion. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. And there's no edge here that I like for them. I mean, Azeez Ojulari, I don't view him as a fit for them. Carlos Basham, I think could be good for them, but I don't love him in the first round. If you want to trade out of the first round and take him, I'd understand that. I'm looking at linebacker here, and Zaven Collins is available. And yeah, if you guys have watched Zaven Collins, you would know how much of a beast he is. I talked a lot about him in the last mock, and I think I gave Cleveland JOK in both of my mocks so far, but I've grown to love JOK more. So Zaven Collins will be the pick here. And let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens, who need edge help. They do. Azeez Ojulari is here. Is there an interior lineman I like? Not really. I do love Landon Dickerson. I think they would love Creed Humphrey as well. But I don't love Creed Humphrey over certain guys available. And I think with you not being able to pay Judon and Yannick, or you could at least pay one probably, but not the other. So replacing one of them is huge. And also their third edge rusher, I think, is a free agent as well. I don't remember his name. It's kind of escaping me. But Azeez Ojulari will be the pick here. On to the Saints. And this team is going to be absolutely gutted because of their cap situation. I mean, Drew Brees won't be on this team either. And I don't see them taking a quarterback. I think they're going to ride with either Taysom or Jameis next year for obvious reasons. And they're just going to gut this roster and kind of build from the ground up. And Marshawn Lattimore is not going to be re-signed in all likelihood. And they're probably going to have to cut Janoris Jenkins. So they're going to have no one at corner. And even though the Saints in the past, 4 years have taken Trench every single time, I think, everyone tries to mock them a linebacker or a receiver. It just never happens because they always go Trench. They understand positional value so greatly. And the last time I think they didn't take a Trench player in the first round was Marshawn Lattimore. So drafting his replacement is going to be huge. And J.C. Horn, I said I liked him in this range. I'm going to give Joe Horn's son to his team. So let's move on to the Green Bay Packers, my team. You need corner really bad. You do. And you need a lot of things, actually. You need wide receiver. Not as badly to the extent as some people think they need it. They need linebacker. They need trench help on both sides of the ball. You saw that similarly to, not to the same extent as the Chiefs Super Bowl game, but the Bucs dominated on both sides of scrimmage against the Packers. So there's no corner here that I love at 29. I like Asante Samuel, but they already have Jair Alexander, who's 5'10", and I think that's kind of, counterproductive. But if he can play, I mean, he can play, so who really cares? And let's see who else is available. See at tackle, Eichenberg and Leatherwood. Look, I think they would like Leatherwood because of his guard tackle flexibility, and he would start day one at guard for them because Corey Linsley probably won't be re-signed. But I just think both of these guys athletically don't fit what they like, because I know they like athletic guys at tackle. So I don't think that would probably be the pick for them, even though I do like Leatherwood. They're not going to take a receiver. I know they won't. They don't. The Packers value trench play and secondary play on day one and quarterback, obviously. Is there a defensive lineman I like here? Oh, Christian Barmore is available. Yeah, that's the pick. Yeah, that's the pick. Putting him in that interior next to Kenny Clark would be monstrous. I would love that. And they are switching defenses to the Fangio style scheme, and having these big gap fillers like Kenny Clark and Christian Barmore would actually be great, and they can get after the quarterback. I don't know how much I like Joe Barry, but maybe he'll value linebacker more. But I know Green Bay as a front office does not. So maybe they'll take a Jabril Cox on day two, maybe, holding out hope. But I don't think they would take Nick Bolton, despite how much he would benefit that defense. But I know who would, and that's the Buffalo Bills. And he's going to be a natural fit to replace Matt Milano, who probably is going to leave in free agency. But you saw the difference between their defensive performance when Matt Milano was and wasn't on the field. When he wasn't on the field, their run defense was atrocious. When he was on the field, it was so much better. And having a guy like Nick Bolton next to Tremaine Edmonds is going to be huge for them. And I think they could also go corner here. But like I said, there wasn't a corner at this spot that I really liked that much. But I think there is a good crop of guys on day 2 to pick from. On to the Chiefs. See, a lot of their offensive line was injured for this game, and like I said, I don't love the value for some of these guys here. There is a guy I do love the value for here that they do need help at. Chiefs are probably going to lose Sammy Watkins in free agency. So, you know, why not replace a tall, fast guy with another tall, fast guy in Terrace Marshall? You know, just keep this Chiefs identity alive with these speedy guys, and Terrace Marshall would be, I mean, you put him in that Kansas City offense, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, you could put anyone in the Kansas City offense and it'd be perfect. I mean, Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney is perfect for them. And last but not least, we have our Super Bowl champion, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And how I'm looking at this pick is essentially, who of their free agents do they not re-sign? And then the one that they don't re-sign, they're going to draft their replacement in the first round. That's kind of how I feel about that. I think they're going to prioritize bringing back Shaq Barrett. I think they're going to prioritize bringing back Levante David. It's kind of between Chris Godwin and Ndamukong Suh, between who I think one of those two won't be back, or might be both. Chris Godwin, I think, is going to get offered a bag, so it more than likely will be him. But their receiver depth is so fantastic, they don't need to take a guy in the first round. I think the Ndamukong Suh just won't be on this team next year. So a guy like Davion Nixon at 32, putting him next to Vita Vea, is a great pick. And I think if Davion Nixon goes back next year and plays for the 2022 NFL Draft, he'd probably be a top 15 pick, top 20 pick. But he decided to come out after his fantastic season, and he's going to go to the Super Bowl champions. So the Super Bowl champions take Iowa prospects in back-to-back first rounds in the draft. But otherwise, there is my post-Super Bowl edition of my 2021 NFL mock draft series. What did you guys think of who your team picked? Let me know in the comments down below. And also, if the pick sucked in your opinion, tell me. I'm used to being told that these picks suck, so I'm not afraid to have a discussion about the draft. That's what we're here to do. So let's have it in the comments down below. While you're at it, be sure to like the video and subscribe to All Sports Culture here on YouTube. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.